Hey everybody, we're back with another video this week. Found enough time to do an unboxing. Wasn't too busy this morning after the fish came in, so we'll get right to that. And at the end, maybe show a couple highlight fish from the previous weeks that are still here that I didn't get a chance to film for you guys. Let's get to it. Box number one. And this is Corydoras paleatus, aka peppered cories. This is one of the larger cories, but peaceful, bottom schooling, cleanup fish. Panda cories, a little bit smaller, probably the most popular cory that we sell at least. Best in school of 6 or more, like all the cories. This is a Discus. This one is a red cover. Kind of a maroon color with kind of turquoise along the face when they're older. And this is actually another red cover. Siamese algae eaters. These guys get about 6 inches long. Mostly known for eating like string algae and blackbeard algae. When they get older, they can get a little aggressive, so you gotta watch them, but they're generally not too bad. We got the infamous clown loaches. Social bottom feeder, like all their Botia loaches, get really big, about 14 inches, but live a long time, so you're going to need a big tank eventually for these guys. And here we've got a gold Nugget Pleco, probably the most popular of the fancy Plecos. Of course, he's going to keep turning away from me so you can't see him. Finally, some run-of-the-mill green neon tetras, kind of like a neon tetra, but slightly smaller with a greenish hue across their back. Good for smaller tanks instead of neons. That's the end of that one. Okay, here's box number 2. And here we have some little juvenile turquoise rainbow fish. Bigger, pretty peaceful schooler. Get along well with other rainbows and bigger fish. Work well as a dither, maybe in cichlid tanks. Do really well in planted tanks though, so they get along with just about everybody. These ones are super little and don't have much of their color yet, but eventually they get a nice, like, blue turquoise color, hence the name. And the males get a nice orange band across the head. And they'll be about 3.5-ish inches long. Pretty big fish. And this looks like clown plecos. These are a small, only get about 3 inches, wood-eating pleco. They'll eat some algae and vegetables and stuff as well. But absolutely have to have wood in the tank or some sort of wood substitute in their diet. And these are Symphysodon gobies. These ones are cobalt blues. The males of this get all the color. Females will sort of stay this silvery color with a black line on them. They're really peaceful algae grazer and biofilm grazer. Definitely not a pick for a brand new tank, but do really well on established tanks. There's a snow white discus. Over here, Pygmy Corys. Just like all the other Corys, you want to keep these guys in groups. These ones stay really small, maybe an inch and change. So they are perfect for smaller tanks if you still like Corys and want a bottom feeder. But they also do well with a lot of fish in big tanks. If you have a really large number of them, you'll see them kind of school around actually up in the water rather than hanging out on the bottom. It's pretty cool to watch. We've got some female betas, half moon kois. Another snow white. These are another Botia loach. These are dwarf chain loaches. Really good snail eaters if you have a snail infestation but don't have a tank that's big enough for yo-yos or clowns or anything like that. These ones also you want best kept in groups, but they only get about 3 inches long, or 2.5 even. And finally, we've got just some regular neon tetras. Always popular. Not the most exciting fish, but a good way to add a lot of color to a tank. Alright, and that'll do it. On to the next one. Okay, here we go, box number 3. What do we have? We have threadfin rainbows. So these are a smaller species of rainbow fish. Not as small as like the pseudomcgill and all those blue-eyed ones, but these guys are only going to be 2-ish inches. The males get these really long dorsal and pectoral fins, as you can see on this guy, and they sort of spar with each other and display those long fins fully erect. The females are a lot more drab, but having them will help the males show off better. Unique looking fish. And speaking of pseudomcgills, this is a red neon rainbows. These guys are very small. Well, they only get 1 inch and change. They get a nice bright red color with the bright blue eye. You can see the males have a little more finnage going on there than the females, if we can get one there. But all of them get a moderate amount of red. We have Apistogramma cacatuoides. So these are dwarf cichlid, spend almost all their time near the bottom of the tank. Fairly peaceful, only going to get a couple inches long. Generally they'll get along in community tanks pretty well, but they can get a little feisty when they're breeding, but not too bad. Mostly they'll just keep everything away from their cave. CPDs, aka Galaxy Rasboras. Cool nano fish, look like a little brook trout. They mostly school lower in the tank, but they will come up somewhat. Get a nice bright orange and darker bodies on the males. Females are those stay a little more subdued in their coloring, but still have the same patterning and everything. Okay, so these are Hyphessobrycon mate, I believe. They call them purple neon tetras at our distributor. They're also just known as purple tetras. Of course, right now in this bag they have absolutely no color. I would say they actually show a little bit more of a blue color than a purple. It's a nice small fish. This one stays like 1.5 inches, I want to say. Good for adding some different coloration to a nano tank. Yep, Hyphessobrycon. Okay, this is one we haven't actually had in the store before, but I think they're pretty common and popular fish. They're flame tetras, also called Fonrio tetras, I believe. This is like a line-bred version of them, where they have more of a bright orange color when they're adults. Of which you can see none of that currently, but like kind of small-ish schooling tetra, not tiny like the green neons or those purple neons, but a couple inches. Here we have some laser orange cories, somewhat larger, kind of like a bronze cory in size when they're full grown. Much more expensive, but get that nice bright orange really throughout the body, but especially along that laser. These are Victorian cichlid. This is Pundamilia nyererei. One of the most colorful Victorian haps, sometimes called flameback haps. The males have like orange all across the top. Some of the varieties get almost a red instead of an orange. Really colorful fish when they're grown up. And finally, some German blue rams. Another peaceful dwarf cichlid that does well in community tanks. But you got to make sure your tank mates can handle a little higher temperature to keep these guys happy. We usually try to keep them at 82. Pretty finicky, definitely not a beginner fish, but really colorful when they're adults. And that is box 3 done. One more to go. Final box. This is Corydoras sterbai. Same rule as all the other cories. You definitely want to try to keep them 6+. These are one of the cories that can handle like warmer temperatures, so these are like a go-to for discus tanks or ram tanks typically. They have a nice speckled patterning on them, and what sets them apart from some of the others that have this similar patterning is on their pectoral fins. They get a nice bright orange color, but you can't really see it here too well. And these are our white fin tetras, or candy cane tetras. It's moderate sized tetra, especially because they've got a higher body. These guys get it 2 inches or so, but also that high body makes them have a little bit higher bioload print in the tank. They get like a mostly pinkish body with this white tips onto the fin there. Similar size to like a black phantom tetra, if you're familiar with that, or a bleeding heart tetra. And then we've got another discus, pigeon checkerboard. Here we've got a big school of roseline sharks, or denison barbs if you prefer. These guys are a big schooler that work well with almost everything. They're pretty peaceful. They get red up on the face, streaking back across their body a little bit, and then yellow back on the tail. Get pretty good size, like 5.5 inches, so you need a lot of room to have a school of these guys, but really cool looking fish. Here we've got Raminos tetras. These guys actually get compared to the roselines a lot because they are pretty similar looking with that red nose and the tail pattern. Really tight schooling fish, so if you want a school that's really going to stick together in the tank and not just kind of meander around like neons or anything like that, these guys do well. And they mostly school low in the tank, so you can get some stratification. Looks like we got one man down in there, unfortunately. And our final bag are Pimelodus pictus, aka Pictus Cats. One of the small species of Pimeloids. Only get like 3.5, 4 inches. Best in groups. They're going to be really, really shy if you just have a 1 or 2. Fairly sensitive as far as catfish go, so you got to be careful when introducing these. I'd definitely quarantine them. But pretty peaceful, hang out on the bottom, really active and ravenous eaters, so good addition to a tank. And that is everything for this week. Alright, so this guy hanging out up top is an African butterfly fish. It is a topwater predator, gets about 5 inches and change. Can't keep it with anything too little or it will eat them. But otherwise peaceful fish. Can't keep it with anything fin nippy because it's got these long delicate fins that hang down. They like to eat insects off the top of the water and any floating food mostly. They're not very picky. Not too much flow, they don't enjoy that. But really unique fish. This is one that people see in the store and not think that we have a dead fish floating up top, but it is actually just sitting there. And then also in the same tank we have, these are called indigo barbs. We've never had them before. Fairly peaceful from what I've seen. Get some okay looking color. Unique barb if you like them. Alright, in this tank over here we got some rope fish. Long, skinny predator fish. Bichir relative. Can't keep them with really little fish, but otherwise they get along with most things. And next door, we got an ornate bichir, and there should be a little gold dust hiding in here, but nowhere to be seen. We also have a lot of large angels in right now, including this little breeding pair over here. And then one more thing to show you from last week. Alright, last but not least, this guy right here is a Maboo puffer. It's very large, so you'll need to have a big tank if you plan to keep one long term. They're mostly crustacean eater. This guy chows down on snails right now, and he's about 5 inches. Eventually he will get 2 feet. And maybe even a little larger, generally about 2 feet in aquariums, but they can get about 30 inches. So, first time we've ever had one of these guys. And he's always on the hunt. Cool fish, but be prepared for a very big pet long term. Alright everyone, that's the video for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, if you have any questions about any of the fish you saw in the video, or would like anything put on hold, just shoot a message down below, give us a call. You guys have a good one.